Good evening. We'll call to order Wilsonville City Council meeting, January 24, 2019 at 7:03 p.m. and request a roll call, please.
Councillor West.
Here.
Councillor Stevens. Here. Council President Ackerval. Here. Mayor Knapp.
Here.
And Councillor Lehan is excused.
Thank you. Would the audience please rise and join us in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we lead off with citizens' input and community announcements, which is an opportunity for visitors to address council on anything not on the agenda. Also a time to address something that is on the agenda but not scheduled for formal public hearing. Staff and council will make every effort to respond to questions raised during this portion, either tonight, before tonight's meeting ends, or as soon as we can thereafter. We request you keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. And I have not received any speaker cards from anyone wanting to speak at this portion at this time. And if that is the case, I will go on to kind of mayor's business. Wanted to give you a little bit of history here. Seems like there's been a lot going the last couple of weeks since first council meeting. Metropolitan Mayor's meeting occurred, and it was a very interesting meeting because it was a joint meeting with the Greater Portland, Inc. Economic Development Group out of Portland. We did this a year ago. This was the second time we had done it. End up all in one room in a restaurant having essentially a roundtable discussion with 50 people, which is a kind of an interesting dynamic to go through, but it's very thought-provoking to hear the perspectives of private industry and the academic community that participates. That also presidents of several of our community colleges and whatnot are regular attendees. So we had a great discussion at that time. Let's see. Then Washington County Coordinating Committee meeting last week. Starting to talk about a trip to Washington, D.C. and what the lay of the land is going to be on transportation funding, especially in Washington. Representative DeFazio from Oregon is chairing the House Committee on Transportation, and does that offer an opportunity? Well, it might offer an opportunity to get something out of the House. Whether it goes anywhere if it comes out of the House, we don't know, but it is a different dynamic than we've had, so we'll have to see how that works. We had the Metropolitan Subcommittee of the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee last week also that meets ahead of JPAC to try to talk about issues that are coming in front of the Metro JPAC Committee. Attended JPAC Committee then last Thursday where I have been asked to represent the cities of Clackamas County at that table. One of the larger items of discussion was a report by Metro staff about the climate initiative that Metro has undertaken and how we're doing on meeting those goals, and they were quite upbeat. I took a little bit of a contrary view and said, I don't see it in the data. I'm not sure we're making progress to the extent that we need to make it year by year to achieve the goals by the end of the period. And it looks to me like we need to be investing more in public transit than we are in order to achieve that. But we'll look forward to that discussion through the year, especially as Metro prepares a proposal for transportation investments that will be put in front of the voters in the fall of 2020. So all of that going on. City Manager Cosgrove and I attended a leadership meeting with Wilsonville Chamber last Friday and had some discussion there that has not happened in a while, and I thought it was good discussion. They have a new president also, and so we'll be trying to continue those discussions. Attended the Greater Portland, Inc. Board meeting yesterday, and that is a group where I have been asked to represent the small cities, they call it the Small Cities Consortium, in a seat on the board. Generally, GPI is a buy-in for your seat on the board, mostly larger employers and businesses in the area, but they have found it to be helpful to have the dialogue with small cities, so they have enabled us to collectively be part of the discussion through a representation on the board, and I picked up that assignment after former Mayor Ogden of Tualatin had been in that position for a few years before he ended his term. So lots of stuff going on. Today I got up early and went to Salem with the League of Cities people, and we had presentations from the governor and the leader of the House, Speaker of the House, and the Senate leader and the minority leaders on both sides, and lots of different input. And then we also had individual meetings with our Wilsonville representatives that our staff, Mr. Ottenad primarily, had set up. Met with, I don't know if I can remember them all, Representative Drazen, Representative Prusak, Senator Thatcher, Senator Olson, and Representative Neron, all in private meetings today, so it was pretty busy. But had several discussions primarily focused on transportation challenges, talked to all of those people really about the I-5 Boone Bridge and the need for moving the projected timeline from 2040 to something much sooner if we can find a way to fund the additional lane southbound that our study with ODOT indicated would make a significant difference in the congestion effect there at the Boone Bridge. So I came away encouraged, more so than I thought I would be, by the level of understanding and knowledge about the project that we have done the background work on. And the question will be, of course, whether anybody feels it's important enough to try to move funding up on some kind of a timetable in light of many, many, many needs for funding in all kinds of different venues. So it will be an interesting session. Long session this year, so it goes to June, is that right? I think that's right. So I haven't been doing anything. So. Next council meeting is what? February 4, I guess, here in council chambers. Can't believe we're through January and headed into February here, but we will do so. There are several community events. If any of the council would like to take note of those on our schedule, I welcome you to do that. And I think I will stop there. Ask for any comments you might have. Councilor President Ackervall.
I guess it was last week almost were able to speak with the Citizens Academy group, and I appreciate that opportunity. I appreciate those volunteers that are interested in doing the program and putting in time to learn about their city and learn about operations of their city and how they may become more involved. So it's always exciting to see that interest and to interact with that group. So that was great.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Stevens, nice to have you back.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back. Very good. So I attended the library board meeting last night. As we talked about in work session, the board discussed a vote that's before the council tonight about putting in electric car charging stations at the library parking lot. And so we'll talk about that later. That's later on the agenda. One thing, we talked about a lot of things, but one remarkable comment that was made by staff there is that, I think it was last week, it might have been the week before, in just 1 week, the library held over 19 programs in a 7-day period with over 1,400 people participating in 19 different programs. That's how robust the programming is at our library. go on about the library all the time. You know, they have so many different things going on. But here it is in January, where generally speaking, you know, summertime is a big time when kids are out of school and there's lots of summer programs going on and the Reptile Man is coming there and all sorts of things going on. But in the middle of January, here we have a week of 19 different programs, over almost 1,500 people attending just those programs. Now, we're not talking about just general library patrons coming there. So the library really is, I think, at the heart of this community. And you can tell by those kinds of numbers. The other thing that the board talked about is, and I mentioned this before a few months ago when it came up, is the library staff they're considering doing this new, it's a new idea. I think Beaverton Library is already doing it. It's called a collection of things, the Library of Things collection, where instead of borrowing books or DVD or CD, you can check out a mixer or a tool of some kind, a sewing machine, you know. And the library right now, it's actually the Clackamas County Library System, the LINK system. If you go to their website, they have a survey right now because several libraries in the county system are considering this idea of, and they want to hear what people might want in that collection. But it wouldn't be a program where there'd be interchangeable between the libraries. You know, they're not going to transport a mixer from one library to the other because they need it. So our library also needs to know what people would want here. And I'll just read off the categories from the survey that's on the Clackamas County's website. Arts and crafts, such as a sewing machine, a button maker, crochet hooks, home and garden, you know, do you need a shovel or a trowel? I mean, it's for just a one-time use. Why would you go and buy something like that if you can check it out at the library? Event part, a karaoke machine or a disco light if you're having a party. Who knows? Musical instruments. Do you want, you know, check out a ukulele or an acoustic guitar to see if you maybe want to take guitar lessons but aren't really sure? So this is an idea now. Staff at the library have not decided they're going to do this, but they're at least exploring the idea. I think it's a kind of a new thing for libraries to expand on, especially since probably over the next years, as they are now, you know, the book collection is going to dwindle and we're moving more to ebooks and digital books. So there might be more space for this too. So they're working on that. So again, the library staff and board are really doing a lot of new things, neat things that bring this community together. I think that's it. I think the rest I'll leave to talk about for the electric charging station when that comes up in the comments there.
Thank you very much. Councilor West.
I am still getting up to speed, and the city staff has been phenomenal at working with me and helping me be as successful as possible, so I'm very grateful for that. But Monday, we're having a city council meeting today on Thursday because Monday was Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And I know we're a couple days from that holiday, but a lot of people got that day off work, but sometimes we're so busy we don't stop and reflect why. And I did that day. I sat down and read a little book full of Martin Luther King Jr.'s quotes, and just spent a moment to say, like, how did that affect my generation? And how does that still affect my son's generation? The work that he did and the impact that he had on our entire country. And one thing that stuck out to me about Martin Luther King Jr. is that at a time when the nation was almost at its most divided, at a time where American brother communities were pitted against one another, and that we were not totally living up to our ideals as Americans, he stood out as a beacon for the ideals that not only make America exceptional, but were so bright that it was noticed by the world. And I look at that and I can see now the opportunities that my son has because of the impact that this man had on our nation, to make sure that all men were created equal, that we live to that very special ideal, that American special ideal, the things that make America so special that it precedes any government. And it's what sets us apart in history, what makes us phenomenal. And today, my son will have the opportunity to maybe one day be president of the United States because of the work that Martin Luther King did. Maybe he wants to be an engineer, maybe he wants to be a teacher, maybe he wants to be whatever he wants to be, but he doesn't have to be limited. And Wilsonville is a great community that lives to those very ideals. And we've lived it every single day. And so I'm glad we all got the day off work. I naively showed up and the building was locked up, but I had an old calendar, but but I was here ready to work. But yeah, as we kind of move beyond Martin Luther King Day, I know it's a very contentious time in our nation. The federal government is not up and working totally right now. Often it seems like on social media, Americans aren't always so nice to each other. But there was a time in our history where it was even more contentious, and we have come so far, a lot of more work to do, but we've come so far because of that man's legacy. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add, was just remembering Martin Luther King and why we are here today on a Thursday.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cosgrove.
Trying to live up to my new ideals that we discussed. I pushed that a while ago, and now I can't remember why I pushed it. And then it just dawned on me that I had a text message to remind me that we did not approve the order of agenda. Did we?
We did not.
Okay, thank you.
I wondered about that, but
So I'm kindly requesting that you do that.
You're right. Okay. My oversight would be open to motion on order of agenda.
So moved.
I move that we approve the order of agenda.
Second.
Moved and second, we approve order of agenda. Previously published, copies on the counter side of the room. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Passes 4-0. Thank you. Apologize for that. That brings us then to our public hearing, Resolution 2722. If I could ask for that to be read.
Resolution number 2722, a resolution authorizing a supplemental budget adjustment for fiscal year 2018-19.
This is a legislative hearing for which there is a formal protocol. So I will call to order the City Council public hearing on Resolution 2722 as has been read. Ladies and gentlemen, Council will take public testimony tonight in a formal hearing format. The hearing will be conducted as follows. First, city staff will present their report. Then we will receive testimony by proponents, opponents, and those neither in favor nor opposed to the resolution. If you wish to testify, please do complete a speaker card from the counter at the side of the room and pass it forward to the city recorder. When called, come to the microphone, state your name and address, and make your statement. I do request those providing testimony not repeat testimony already given to the council. Simply indicating your agreement with certain prior testimony is entirely sufficient. Ms. Rodacker.
Supplemental budget adjustment for the fiscal year. We are allowed to make these kind of changes to the Oregon budget law to adjust. The first of the items on the list is recognizing the change of moving our janitorial contractual services to in-house services, recognizing from March.
You want to switch seats or switch mics? Whatever's easier. Mark. Is it?
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, and that was for the, where was I here? The janitorial contractual services, bringing that in-house. And before, the budget is for the month lower from funds from fiscal year 2018 that were not spent by the end of the year. That's a $50,000 for the citywide signage and wayfinding plan. We have a number of net $0 transactions where we take unused budget from one project and use it to fund a different project. This allows us, helps us to not increase our overall requests. We do have a couple of new request funding. $180,000 will be used for the purchase of furniture for the library. We do have a fund balance that is available in the facilities capital project fund that will pay for this. The big one is the $2 million request for the funding of Villaball Parks improvement. This is for the completion of Regional Parks 7 and 8. This was presented to council a couple weeks ago by our CD Director Chris Namsu. He is here if there are any other questions, but this is what that is regarding. To help offset the increase in the parks SDCs, we will be reducing the budgets from the Beckman Trail, the maintenance facility, and the play structure projects in the amount of $650,000. And that is the list of budget adjustments for the city.
Thank you. Council, any questions for staff with regard to the budget adjustments being proposed? Councilor West.
Yeah, just got a couple notes when reading this in our packet. And I haven't bought furniture in a long time. Well, never, but $180,000 is like the price of a condo. I'm just curious as to what brings that price tag to $180,000.
It is a pretty extensive, obviously, complete buying all new furniture for the library, replacing all the old stuff that they had brought in from the remodel, but are now going to be replacing it. And the fund balance that is being used to fund this project, this is a fund balance that has been on the books for many, many, many years, and it just kind of sits there. So we thought this would be a good use of that money since it's not taking anything from the general fund or any other fund, and to get the project completed.
So this 180 is already set aside and saved?
Yes.
Okay. And then one other question on here I noticed is just a little clarification on, what did I write here? On the facility of the $150,000 to do some maintenance facility in restroom. When we mean maintenance, that can be a very broad term, and I'm suspecting that it's more than just replacing a couple fixtures here and there. Like, what are we talking about for that $150,000?
Well, we are actually eliminating that project. That's why it's we're reducing the budget by $150,000. The parking at the parks folks felt that the changes to the regional park 7 and 8 would help with what they were looking for.
I see that here now. I misinterpreted how I read it. So yeah, I see that. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Stevens.
Yeah, I had a similar question, and I know Mike McCarty talked about this, but tell me where the play structure is not going to get replaced. Is it Memorial Park? Isn't that one? Do you remember that? You can't remember either.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have that.
But he assured me that that could be put off for a while, and that reduction made sense right now to be able to do that. I just can't remember where it was.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but he felt that the
Maybe it
play
was
structures
Marassi. Was okay. You're right.
were going to be
Right.
comparable.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I have not received any speaker cards. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on Resolution 2722? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask council, what is your pleasure with regard to Resolution 2722?
Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution Number 2722.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2722. Any discussion? This is a fairly routine process. We do as necessary, especially later in the budget years, as we're getting toward now, to align our current perception of our needs and projects to conform with the budget law of the state and be transparent about how that's working. So it's fairly routine, even though the specific items might be different from year to year. We go through this process every year. If there is no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 2722, please say aye.
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 Passes 4-0. Thank you. That will bring us to new business, starting with Resolution 2723. This pertains to funding for Urban Renewal District, and I want to indicate that I do not have any legal conflict of interest, but because of possible perception, the fact that my personal business property is in the area of these projects, I'm going to step aside, as I have on every other action pertaining to this project that is near my property, and ask Council President Ackerval to proceed with this particular new business item.
Thank you. Can City Attorney Jacobson please read the resolution?
Resolution number 2721, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville approving, 2723, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Wilsonville pertaining to short-term subordinate urban renewal debt for the West Side Plan District.
Thank you.
So this is authorizing the approval of an interagency agreement between the city and the urban renewal districts for the West Side Plan in the amount of $3 million. As we talked about in work session, the only way that we can spend the tax increment that we receive in the district is by issuing debt. And one of the tools that we do have is what we call an overnight loan, or sometimes referred to as a du jour bond. And with this, we're able to simply do all of the transactions basically as an accounting function. Tomorrow, I would record the debt of $3 million in the West Side District, taking that money out of the general fund balance, and the following day, I would repay that debt. This allows us to meet the needs of being a short-term debt. It's recorded against our maximum indebtedness in the Urban Renewal District. And it is a very inexpensive way of doing it. We used to do these through banks, and the charges were, upwards of $10,000. This we do for just a minimal cost. So it is one of the savings that we are able to do. Any questions?
Council have any questions for staff?
I do. So we've, I've been here on council for 6 years, and we've done a number of these, and I think it's great that we can save all this money rather than going. I was just curious when I was reading this one, when did legislation change so that it allowed cities to do this and save money as opposed to going out for a loan? Do you know, or does
I was talking to our urban renewal consultant about something different, and because we do things differently with our urban renewal, and what he explained was that at the time that we established the urban renewal districts, we took a very strict stance of interpretation of what the rules were. But as time has gone by, some of those things have changed. And he thinks that this is one of those where, it probably was okay all along, but the original interpretation was that we needed to go through the financial
to borrow the money from a bank?
And there's a couple of things that have come up in the last couple of weeks that was our interpretation of how we should be doing things.
But they're statute-driven, right?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
just how you
How do
interpret
you interpret those statutes? And you were more careful than you, but this
Yeah.
is, other cities do this, this is common
Yeah,
practice.
it is yes.
It's just great. You could save all this money and for a one-night transfer. So,
Yeah, it's literally
It's amazing, yeah.
here
I know.
today, paid
And
off tomorrow.
all that paperwork and staff time and everything, so,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's been going on for
we have been doing
You have
it
been
from
doing it.
about 20, I think it was like 2013 was the first time that we actually
2013,
did
yeah,
that.
okay, when you started implementing that same
Correct.
policy and taking advantage of it. Okay, thanks for that information.
Yeah, Councilor West.
Just to add on to what Councilor Stevens said, it looks like we said the average cost was $10,000 prior to this, and this one-day loan, where we're basically lending ourselves the money, is a cost of $226. That's a deal. That's a nice coupon for the city. Just to clarify, when we say West Side District for urban renewal, are we specifically talking about the Villebois area?
Correct.
And
Bill
so-
Wally is in that.
So this is just to continue to complete that project as the funds are necessary and needed at this time?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's all my comments, questions.
If there's no other questions, I'll ask for the motion.
I move to approve resolution number 2723.
I'll second.
Any discussion? No, probably good. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None.
Well done.
Thank you. My first one. Thank you. And we'll welcome back our mayor.
Thank you, Council President Akval. You did excellent. That will bring us to Resolution 2721.
Resolution number 2721, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville approving a charging station license agreement with Portland General Electric for installation of electric vehicle charging stations.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
evening.
Delora Kerber, Public Works Director, and with me is?
Eric Underwood, Local Government Affairs Manager, PGE.
Yes, and before you tonight is a resolution for approving a licensing agreement with PGE for a community electric avenue charging hub.
Thank you. And yes, we're very excited about this project at PGE. We think it's just one step closer to that cleaner, greener future reality. And we think the library is a great location. It's actually, I was talking with some of my colleagues earlier, it's their favorite location for these charging stations, giving the people that it'll serve and the proximity to the other amenities and the location on the grid. So we're very excited, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have tonight. So.
Council, any questions with regard to this proposal? No, we can't even do that.
Wow.
We had quite a
That easy.
discussion.
We had quite a bit of discussion in work session about this, about the technology and how fast it's changing, about any inherent risks that there are with electrical devices. Our staff, as I understand it, feels like this is fairly mature technology and that it's similar to that being deployed in multiple places around the region, and at least some hundreds of people using it on a regular basis. I think the location is a prime location. The fact that it can take, there's either a fast charge or slow charge options, but people might easily spend an hour or two on a slower charge, and to have a location where they can go to the library or walk across the street and do a little bit of shopping, access the fast food restaurants that are nearby, access Memorial Park and all the amenities in the park. All of those things would argue to me that it is a superior kind of a location in which to locate this type of an amenity, and I would hope that the utilization by the public, if we're going to go ahead with this, would prove to support that. We'll have to see. Governor Brown is indicating she's looking for 50,000 electric vehicles to be functional in the state by the end of her term. Currently, I think that we were told that we have something like 14,000 or so in the state. Is that right, Mr.
16,000.
16,000, yeah. So it's quite a big increase. And if there's going to be that many more electrical vehicles running around, there's certainly going to have to be an awful lot more charging stations than we currently have. So all of those are considerations that that we should have in mind. And also then, I think that we should have in mind the question of the extent to which our community is committed toward responsible deployment of the new technologies that are coming at us, and trying to understand how those work and how they fit into our society. And in some ways, we have to kind of test things out, in my view, to sort of get to that level of comfort. So, Councilor Stevens.
I had one more question that I didn't ask upstairs. So people will need to pay to be able to charge their cars up, right? So you can scan a credit card or a debit card to do it? And then flat fee can you explain the flat fee, $3, $5?
Sure. It's $3 for a regular charge, $5 for the fast charge.
Okay,
And then it's a $25 per month fee for an unlimited charging.
if you want to do that. And you would get a swipe card for that?
You can
to
get a
pay
swipe card for that,
for that,
certainly. And you
yeah.
can also make reservations as well through that technology.
Reservations?
Reservations for the charging.
For that charge? Really? Online?
You'll be
Okay.
able to do that.
When we first bought our electric car, we used a card called Blink. Is that still around, the Blink system?
I know it's out in the parking lot.
Yeah, out in our
Okay,
own parking
okay,
lot.
it is.
Blink.
Yeah, I
Okay,
believe
I
it's
just-
still around, yeah.
Okay, okay. They use that too. Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? How robust is the system? I mean, I don't have an electric car. Can I get in my electric car today and drive to San Francisco?
No.
The Tesla, maybe.
With the Tesla, probably, yes. I'm not sure of all the locations and how it's saturated at this point, what the level of saturation is at this point.
Even within Oregon, we don't know if we've got continuity.
Yeah, I'm not that certain of that. I'm 3 weeks into my job, so, but I can certainly find that out for you if you'd like. I think we could produce a map that shows that.
Yeah, I would think that users would like to see a map.
Yeah, we could certainly produce a map that shows that. It might even be something that we can put online on our page if it's
Yeah,
not
that'd be a
there
great
already.
idea, yeah.
Our webpage.
Also, we publish our own information internally, of course, so if we were to have this amenity here, I would think that we could, indicate somehow if people needed to find it.
That's something we could produce. I mean, we could produce a map and send that to you, and you can put it on your website if you'd like to do that.
Councilor West.
There's an old saying, they have an app for that.
Yeah.
So when we want to charge our electric car, we can just pop up a map and it will say you can go here or there where you can go, or if you can plan like, oh, I'm going to shop at this store because I know that this Fred Meyer's has an electric, and then before I go run my next errand, my card's charged. So I'm sure you guys would be included in those types of like app things where you can like, I have to make it to Salem, but I need to charge for an hour before I can get there.
Okay.
And I do have one question. Sure. So it just stuck in my brain during the work session. Oregon's super rare in the fact that with petroleum stations, we have attendants. Attendants come and help us, right? And we're like one of only 2 states that have that type of service. So I know that this is a totally different technology, but we talked a little bit about like risk or inherent like potential like issues with safety. And the reason why we have the argument to have those attendants at our petroleum stations is for that same reason of safety. Except I know we're dealing with the chemical substance there, but I guess it wouldn't be that side out of the realm when that safety conversation came up to consider it. Like, well, most states don't even have an attendant and people are able to fuel their own vehicles. I know that that came up a little bit when we talked about like potential safety concerns. So I just thought like, it's not that unreasonable to think that like people could do this on their own. So yeah. Yeah, pretty simple.
Anything else? What is council's pleasure with regard then to Resolution 2721?
I move to approve resolution number 2721.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2721. Other comments or discussion? Councilor Stevens.
One more comment. I do want to point out that last night at the library board meeting, they passed a motion in support of this resolution. So there was discussion back in October when Joel, and I can't remember her name,
Joe and Ariana.
and Ariana came and presented that idea, and then again, we talked about it last night. And the library board is supportive of this idea. So it would, it has that going forward as well.
Okay. Other discussion? If council is done talking, I will ask for the vote. All in favor of the resolution the motion to approve Resolution 2721, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing, please?
Councilor Stevens.
Thank you. Delora, before you go, because I know you're probably going to leave tonight, in the board packet, the council packet tonight, is the public works work that, and the work plan you've done. Boy, your team, your staff did a lot of work this winter. It just goes on, and it is very robust, and a lot of projects that were amazing. Training going on in public works. I was really impressed with that report. It's fantastic. So I wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the crew.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to continuing business, ordinance number 831, second reading.
Ordinance number 831, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Wilsonville amending Wilsonville Code Chapter 4, Section 800 through 814 to address the new rules promulgated by the Federal Communications Commission on declaring an emergency.
So this is the ordinance pertaining to the 5G communications standards that council has had heavy discussion about, input from consultants, from industry at the hearing last time, quite a bit of dialogue. It's being driven by rules issued recently by the Federal Communications Commission, which mandate certain levels of option by municipalities and limit municipalities on other choices, and trying to find the best protection for the expectation of our community through design and how many of these antennas there would be and how they would be positioned in residential areas or within commercial areas is all part of this. So have we had any additional information come forward that council should be aware of since first reading?
A couple things that you should be aware of. So I'll start just to clarify the change in the ordinance. There's only one from the last time, and it was pointed out by one of the carriers at the hearing, and the change was made. There were just some words missing from one of the new regulations having to do with height, and we had said that they could not exceed 50 feet or more than 10% of the existing structure or nearby structures, and we didn't have the phrase whichever is greater. So we added.
You're not being picked up.
So, once again, we added one small change that a carrier pointed out, and that's on page, let's see, what's it under? Section 4.801, sub 7B, and it's in red. And it was just to add the words, whichever is greater to the end of the sentence, because the carrier pointed out that was what was needed to match up with what the regulations said. So, So that's the only change there. We did, I know several of the council members received an email from a citizen, and of course, the public testimony closed last week on this, but I think it's worth noting that the email was written expressing concern about the safety of the 5G, you know, what kinds of studies have been done with respect to cancer causing, radiation, unexplained illnesses, harm to the environment, harm to wildlife. And, you know, the answer to that question is 5G actually isn't even developed yet. It's in development. We're being pressed to do this now by the FCC so that they're ready for 5G when it comes, and there's this big race to be the first to have it. So, and that's been discussed in many articles and treatises, and it's unknown. I mean, they have not done the studies that they probably will need to do, but at the same time, we have to make things ready for carriers to make their applications. So that's all our ordinance is doing. The other thing that's happened since we did this, and this is pertaining more to the rules or the design standards we passed last time, but we just had a meeting of several cities. It was in Beaverton, and it was attended by Lake Oswego, Tigard, Wilsonville, Beaverton, Tualatin, West Lynn, and PGE as sort of a forum to go over the various standards and ordinance all of the groups had passed, and we shared them. And from that, we picked up a few good pointers of things that we might want to add to our design standards. And as did other cities from working together. I also received a call from the Public Utility Commission reminding me that we're one of 7 states where it's reverse preemption. In other words, the PUD can actually, in some areas, preempt the FCC. So they just wanted to let me know that they're still, you know, they're under the same kind of deer in the headlights that we are with these rules coming out so fast. So they're working also to look at their rules, and they just wanted to touch base and let me know that. So that was kind of an interesting conversation. And one of the things that we did pick up at the meeting was, since 5G hasn't come out yet, it's kind of like the Old West, and this is the gold rush where everybody is trying to get their poles in the ground. And so a couple of the cities had actually put fairly short timelines on once you get approved, you have to get your pole in the ground, or you have to utilize the city pole if that's what you're doing within a certain time period, or your application goes away and you have to start over, so that you don't have sort of pole hoarding going on where you can't figure out if more than one can go on the pole or whatever. So that's something that we're going to look at doing as well. So that's kind of, and I don't know, Chris, if you've got anything else that you want to add, or no?
So would the opportunity to make those adjustments or additions to our standards be influenced by council taking action on the ordinance as currently drafted?
No, the ordinance stands separate and apart, and that's just to correct things in order to meet timeframes. These would all impact the design standards, and when you passed those last time by resolution, you authorized them to be changed administratively by the city engineer or the city planning director. So you don't need to do anything. I just thought you might find it interesting to know that there's this. So the
design standards stand alone and separate from the ordinance?
Yes, they do. Okay. And they're much more easily amended. The ordinance will always have to come back to you. And we probably will be coming back to you. This was just kind of like a Band-Aid amendment until we see what happens with the Public Utility Commission and the Oregon legislature in this upcoming session, because we're anticipating there will be changes made to their regulations, and the legislature may do something. The last thing I should add is we did set up a meeting with the 3 carriers that came in last time, and I think the meeting sometime first week in February, so that will be, we'll listen to what they have to say as well.
Okay. Council, other questions? If not, what is the council's pleasure with regard to ordinance number 831 on second reading?
I move to approve. Am I on? No, I move to approve measure 831.
Second reading. On second reading.
On second reading.
On second reading, right.
And I'll second that.
All right, moved and seconded. We approve 831 on second reading. Second reading on an ordinance means that we must have a roll call vote, different process than we use otherwise. So I will request a roll call vote at this time.
Counselor West,
Here.
Counselor Stevens,
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here at the first reading or at the first discussion.
Council President Akkerval,
Yes.
Mayor Knapp,
Yes,
and Counselor Lehan is excused.
so passes 3 yes, 1 abstention, and no opposed.
And just to clarify, when we did the reading, that was and declaring an emergency as well, so that goes into effect.
Yes, that was in the reading. I got that. All right, that brings us to city manager's business.
I really don't have anything formal, Mayor. There are 2 updates to the work plan that are in your packet. Be happy to answer any questions you might have about those. Otherwise, call it good.
Yeah, the work plan is work that is focused on many of the council's formal objectives for the past couple of years. So it's an interesting read to see where we have made progress and where we still have work to do. The council will be going into a goal-setting session here in another couple of months to talk about our priorities for goals going forward. So it certainly will be informative of that process at the same time. Are there any questions for Mr. Cosgrove? Councilor Stevens?
No, I'm just, our goal setting always gives you more work to do. That's what it does. That's, staff goes, no.
And we always start with the goals that we didn't get done this time.
And then we add.
And then we add.
And then we add to those.
But we have a pretty good track record for getting a lot of them done, and I think that that's really telling, so. Any legal business?
No more legal business tonight.
No more legal business. In that case, I will call us adjourned at 7:54. Now, we have a urban renewal meeting, which should be relatively brief. Does anyone need a break? Or shall we go straight on in?
Go on in.
I will therefore call to order a Wilsonville Urban Renewal Agency meeting for January 24th, 2019 at 7:55 p.m. and request a roll call.
Member West,
Here.
Member Stevens,
Here.
Member Akkerval,
Here.
Chair Knapp,
Here.
and Member Lehan is excused.
Thank you. First item up is citizens input, which is an opportunity for visitors to address the Urban Renewal Agency Board on anything not on the agenda. Also time to address things that are on the agenda but not scheduled for public hearing. Staff and the board will make every effort to respond to questions raised during this input, either before tonight's meeting ends or as soon as we can thereafter. We ask people to limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes, and at this point, I've not received any speaker cards. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak? I see none. Therefore, I will move on to the order of business, starting with the consent agenda.
Consent agenda minutes of the December 3, 2018 Urban Renewal Agency meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion on consent?
I move we approve minutes, the consent agenda as read.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. We approve consent agenda as read and published previously. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Passes 4-0. Bringing us to our first resolution 293, a public hearing.
Urban Renewal Resolution number 293, a resolution authorizing a supplemental budget adjustment for fiscal year 2018-19.
This is a public hearing, and I need to read the protocol. I will call to order Wilsonville Urban Renewal Agency public hearing on Resolution 293, as has been read. Ladies and gentlemen, the agency will take public testimony tonight in a public hearing format, which will be conducted as follows. First, staff will present their report, then we will receive testimony by proponents, opponents, and those neither in favor nor opposed to the proposed resolution. If you wish to testify, please do complete a speaker card from the counter at the side of the room. Pass it forward to the city recorder. When called, please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and make your statement. I request those providing testimony not repeat testimony previously given. Simply indicating your agreement with certain prior testimony is entirely sufficient. Ms. Rowe Doctor.
Well, this evening, we have a supplemental, bug on my hand, supplemental budget adjustment for our year 2000 urban renewal request. And Mayor, it did remind me of the conversation we had upstairs when you asked me about the IGA funding. I mistakenly said it was for the Fifth Street Kinsman project. However, that is, the IGA is for the West Side District. So the Fifth Street project is being a part of the supplemental budget adjustment. So I do apologize for that. So you did not need to recuse yourself from the IGA,
But probably from the
but
supplemental.
probably from this one.
In which case I should turn this over
Sorry.
to my sidekick, I mean, to our.
Okay.
So you. There.
What?
Board Chair Pro Tem, is that
Pro
it?
Tem. Okay. So I guess we'll continue with the staff report.
Okay, and I do apologize for that. For the Fifth Street and Kinsman Extension Project, we are requesting a $1,750,000. We are moving forward with this particular project, and this will be funding property acquisitions in the area. We also have a $65,000 request for project management fees for the continuation of the town center concept planning project. Total is $1.8 million, and these are, is in the fund balance for the year 2000 plan. Any questions?
Thank you. Is there any, yeah, council, any questions for staff?
As I look, I think it's page 15. Is that right? No, page 4. I think I'm saying that right. It talks about tax increment available for fiscal year ended in June 30th, 2018. That table there, am I looking at the right?
Are you talking about the urban
Renewal.
report?
Let's see if I'm looking at the, yes, of the Urban Renewal Agency report. Yeah.
Okay.
Page 4, or is that, or my,
Are we talking about the report or the supplemental budget? The annual report that we issue? Is that what you're talking about, Counselor?
I don't think you have the right report up here.
Because the urban renewal report we covered in work session.
Right.
And are you talking about this table here?
yeah.
Okay. What can we answer?
That's applicable to this, am I correct?
Um,
Saying that right?
Tangentially,
This book?
but it's not directly tied to the actions that were taken tonight. It's, it's just more of an informational piece that we're required to do.
I'll just redirect, I guess, kind of my comments on it, or is that should be saved for discussion?
Well, if it's a question, it's the appropriate time.
Okay, then I'll wait for discussion.
Are there any questions
I don't
for
have a
staff?
question on this.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, if there's no further questions for staff, then I'll ask for the motion, and then after the second, we'll have discussion.
Public testimony?
It's a public hearing.
Oh,
Ask a citizen.
thank you. Is there another item over here I need to read, or have we already?
You have to ask if
Just
there's
ask if
other
there are any
citizens.
citizens.
Just see if there's anybody here that would like to testify on this.
Is there anybody here that would like to testify? We don't have a speaker card at this point, but if there is, please pass it forward and join us at the microphone.
That works.
Thank you. I see none? Okay.
So do they need
So
to do a
then do I
motion?
close the public hearing at this point, and
Yes.
then we do,
Yeah, now you can close the public hearing.
Great. I don't need to read anything at that point
No.
to
Nope.
close. Okay, then we'll close the public hearing.
Yeah, do it, just, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so is there a motion?
Okay. I move to approve URA Resolution Number 293.
I'll second.
And now discussion.
So as we look at urban renewal and expanding it further, even if it's already a designated area, when I was reading about urban renewal and just kind of doing some studying before we took this up, I came across some of Ted Wheeler's comments when he was chair of Multnomah County. And he had concerns at that time about how urban renewal siphoned money from other services. And schools, police, fire. And so he talked about how there were real strife and consternation and difficulties because of the use of urban renewal. And I'm still learning a lot about the topic. There's a lot to learn. It can be a little complicated. But I see us butting up against this 25% allowed for urban renewal. And I know these are small adjustments for things that are already planned. And I just am concerned that, I know that it's a safeguard, that 25%, but if that wasn't there, that our city, who has been very accustomed to using urban renewal, would go beyond that. The safeguard wasn't there. And it almost reminds me a little bit of like the use of a credit card in a way, the use of just trying to finance more debt. So I'm just a little bit concerned that as we go to vote on this again, that there is a cost to this. And there are other competing tax agencies that could potentially and will lose funding because our use of urban renewal. And I just want to bring that up, that we're cautious as we go forward. I don't think often we talk enough about the potential pitfalls of urban renewal that exist out there. And sometimes it's just like, oh, it's order of business, and we just kind of go for it. So I bring that up just talk about like, let's be mindful of some of the expenses that are really out there and how other agencies and future planning can be impacted by urban renewal, and that we do always butt up against our max, and it's like we're always at the max, and so that just makes me kind of go and have some pause about, are we being the most fiscally responsible with these dollars and this tool? There's a lot of history of the tool being misused. I'm not saying Wilsonville has necessarily done that, but through lots of different municipalities, even in Portland, there has been a lot of misuse. TIF financing is like the best friend to eminent domain. TIF financing often is tied to cronyism, capital cronyism. There's just things to be very cautious about every time we talk about like increasing the cost and spending. And so I just want to bring that up as we look at doing this again, that we're really mindful, so.
Councilor Stevens.
So I think there are municipalities who have not used urban renewal very well. I think Wilsonville has been extremely successful at using this tool. It's a tool in a toolbox to be able to take areas that are undeveloped and grow them in a well-planned out way. As we talked about at work session, we grew those two districts at a rate of, what do we estimate, of 1,400%?
For the west side.
Of the west side, on the west
The other
side.
one was 1,000?
Yeah, it was, they were huge. So the property values of those areas has brought in more revenue to all the taxing districts, Wilsonville included. And from what I understand is that the other taxing districts have to agree to do this. The school district and the fire district and the county are the three big ones. Then you have the vector control, which is really small, those tiny, but the three they see value in, freezing that tax base because the payoff is huge at the other end. So I think Wilsonville I don't know about other municipalities, if anybody has been as successful as we have, but I'd be hard pressed to find a place that has done this so well for both the city and the school district and the fire district and the county. It just works for us here, but that's because we're growing, high quality, very livable, very desirable city. If you do it in areas where people, it's sketchy and people it's not really sure that it's going to work, it could fail. But here, Villebois is a perfect example. You both live there.
We do, yeah.
And I know you enjoy that community, and it is a community. It is much more than just a neighborhood. It is cohesive, and The school there is robust and lots going on there. So I think, and that happened because of urban renewal. So I think you're right. It can be a disaster, and it can cost a lot in a community, in a municipality. But we do it well. And so these are things that we, because of the way Wilsonville is and because of the growth we have here, there are other toolboxes that aren't available to us. We just don't qualify them. We talked about the
Enterprise zones.
enterprise zones. Sorry, thank you. That we just don't qualify to use that tool in the toolbox, but this we do. So it has worked tremendously over the last 18 years or longer, you know. So I think it can, and it's going to hopefully grow that industrial area and create more jobs in the north end, in Coffee Creek area. So we'll see. I can't imagine that that's not going to be successful too, just because of given our track record. So that's my take on urban renewal.
I would say that I agree with a lot of Councilor Stevens' comments. But one point that you brought up too is the cooperative work with the partners that are involved and affected by this. And I think that you will see that council has, the city staff has really made an effort to have these continued discussions and keep people in the loop on what we're thinking, what we're planning, where we're going. Later this year, we'll have a joint meeting with the school board. I think because we do that every year, I believe. I can't remember. It's like February or something, right?
Yeah.
We try to. And this is a topic that comes up and it's discussed, and it's because it's important, and we realize it's important on both sides. So I think that's something that you'll see as time goes on, and some of those communications happen too. Yeah.
Can I comment back? And I think that our size helps with this a little bit, the size of our city, but we do know we're growing rapidly, and at the same time, cost of education, police, fire, and all that is also climbing rapidly, and those aren't getting any cheaper either. And so as we divert funds away from those essential government services and competing tax agencies, I just ask us to be mindful. And are we, I just read some other studies also that show that urban renewal with development within a city can happen even without urban renewal. I mean, there was a time where urban renewal comes around in the 40s or 50s, and then in California now it's actually outlawed in California to even be used because they have so many problems with it. But studies do show that growth within cities can still happen even without urban renewal within the free market system. It may not happen exactly where we had planned or thought it might happen, but as regulations and things are lessened and pulled back, you can see development happen in cities. Anaheim's an excellent example of that, and how they were able to develop large areas of Anaheim without any urban renewal because they just ripped back at regulations and worked with builders that way and developers. I just bring cautious because you often hear thrown out there by the media, and as I read, that it's free money. It's just so easy, it's free money, and I just don't buy that. And yeah, there's been some benefit and purpose for this tool. I absolutely agree with that, and not to be the fly in the ointment, but I just feel like that to bring that voice forward and always remind ourselves of that when we take votes on this type of thing is super important. To think like, okay, are we considering this other side to the story? And that's the only reason why I bring it up, so.
Okay. Any further discussion or comments? No? Okay, then I'll call for the vote.
We'd have, okay. Oh, aye. I thought she was going to do a roll call. Aye.
Are you doing well?
She's calling the question.
It's not a roll call.
It's not an ordinance.
It's not an ordinance. You can just, all in favor?
Oh, yeah,
All in favor.
All in favor.
Aye.
All in favor. Aye.
Aye.
I heard 3-0.
3. Thank you. Thanks for that summary.
3 times.
We're all learning on the go.
And moving along, we'll welcome back our chair. Thank you.
That was great, Kristen.
Thank you. Interesting discussion. I cannot keep my tongue silent. There is zero crony capitalism in Wilsonville pertaining to this.
And I didn't say there wasn't Wilson, I said there's a history of it within other municipalities.
Somewhere else, what they do, it's what we do and we can control responsibly. Villebois would not exist without urban renewal. The Villebois West Side Urban Renewal District went from $45 million to $485 million. You got a $440 million increase in taxable built environment, paying taxes in. That area will pay taxes as long as it exists. The Urban Renewal District eventually gets closed down. We're working on closing down the West Side District now. That $485 million in taxable property would not exist and would not be paying any taxes without urban renewal. So to say we're taking money away from the school district, it never would have grown. The school district would have no $485 million in taxable infrastructure, and when the urban renewal district is done and fully returned to the rolls, it will have.
I know we're not in discussion, but Mayor, there's also evidence out of the University of Iowa that shows that municipalities do grow without urban renewal.
Villebois wouldn't grow without $70 million in infrastructure that urban renewal paid for. It would be greenfield.
And in the beginning of that urban renewal, Mayor, the fire department opposed it significantly until we decided to put sprinklers inside of every single closet and nook and cranny of those homes because they didn't want to have the additional cost from the growth of population within the fire district.
And they eventually supported it with the negotiated agreement.
Yeah, we negotiated an agreement with it, but there was, regardless for 20 years or however long the district, it does siphon funds from essential services. That's just a fact.
No, that's not a fact. I will dispute that, but we will not do this here. Mr. Cosgrove.
I'm somewhat hesitant to wade into these waters here, but I would like to just remind council and anybody else that may be watching that our schools are state funded. Urban renewal doesn't affect, they get X number of dollars per head. Where it affects school districts is if they have special option levies, which ours does, but it's a perverse relationship. If we stopped assessing our urban renewal district now, it would actually cost our school district money. We have been very good about partnering with them, kind of truing up in November, December. The finance director from the school district works with our finance director to figure out how are the real market values in relation to the assessed value. So we are managing that very closely, but there's no money lost to school districts from urban renewal districts.
And I agree with that. I know that, yes.
And again, it's a philosophical thing that we're talking about here. Is it true that land would develop without urban renewal? Of course it is. What you would get there, I don't know. Would it be what the community wants, what the council wants in terms of your long-term vision for the city? Would it have as much economic impact without that public subsidy? I would stipulate no, that you would not get the same level of return if you just let the market do what the market's going to do. Because what the market's going to do is it's going to be, what's the quickest way for me to make a buck here? And I don't care what I leave behind. So what urban renewal does give you as a council is it gives you a tool to say, we want to impact the community in this way. In Villebois, it was, we want all these regional parks in here. So we're going to work with developers. And yeah, you had to throw a bone to the fire district, but that's all good. But I will say, to the mayor's point, that this city's been very proactive in working with our affected taxing districts. And I'm sure that there were issues related to this building and how it got built, and we went through all that. But I will say it's been very collaborative and collegial. And does the fire district agree with everything we've ever done? No. But they appreciate that we bring them to the table and we have a conversation. So I think that's all we can do as a city is be transparent, be open, look for win-wins, because in government, you're not looking for zero-sum games here. We want to make sure everyone benefits from what we do. And we have shown statistically that we have valued and benefited every taxing district that is within our jurisdiction. So I guess that's all I would say on the subject is there's always an opportunity for kind of misfeasance or malfeasance with any government program, right? So it's incumbent upon you as elected officials and me as a city manager to make sure that that doesn't creep in. And I don't suspect that that's going to be a problem with the people in this room, but it's a point well taken.
All right, so there's always room for dialogue on that sort of thing. Where is my...
Did I take it?
Yeah. That brings us to new business, URA Resolution 294.
Renewal Resolution Agency, or Urban Renewal Agency Resolution Number 294, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Wilsonville pertaining to the short-term subordinate urban renewal debt for the West Side Plan District for the purpose of funding the construction of capital improvement projects by the agency.
Ms. Rodacker.
Thank you. This is the other side of the IGA agreement that was approved in the city meeting. This is for the urban renewal side of it. This is for the West Side Plan District. This will be funding the Twos Road project. And once again, it's $3 million overnight loan, 2.75% for 1 day, about $226 in loan costs. So, questions?
Oh, that's not me. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not from before.
Any questions for staff? Companion piece to authorize the Urban Renewal Agency to do what we authorized the city to do in the other action, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If there's no questions, I will ask the board, what is your preference with regard to URA Resolution 294?
I move to approve URA Resolution Number 294.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Moved and seconded, thank you, to approve URA Resolution 294. Any discussion? Not that we haven't been having.
No-brainer.
Yep.
This one's
Easy peasy.
yeah.
All right, if there's no further discussion to be had, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 294, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Any further business for the URA board? I don't see any, so I will call us adjourned at 8:19. Thank you very much.
I think